And this plate is virtually universal. You can also use this plate on a Volkswagen Golf 7 with bolted wheel bearings. Bolted on the back. Sometimes they are like 1 centimeter or 1.5 centimeters in the knuckle. And then you actually have a challenge of trying to, with the air hammer, try to rotate it. And with the air hammer you have a noise problem because everything is aluminium nowadays. And you actually fuck it up. Or fuck your hearing up. Sorry for the words. So,
you wouldn't use the wheel studs?
no. Well, here's the thing. You can try this with longer bolts and then try to get that bearing out, taking those bolts on the back of the knuckle. You'll actually damage the knuckle or the trailing arm. That's not really bad, but the problem is unevenness. So first you rotate this one, then you rotate that one, and all 5, and you gently... So getting it out is never a real problem, and trying not to break anything is... So, you notice that I used 2 rings. 2 rings behind. That has to do with the space I need in order to take it out with a small puller we have devised. Now this puller is universal for hubs and hub bearings. So I just even it out to fit on the trailing arm, and then if I leave it, it might fall off. So I take it off, and then I take the hydraulic cylinder, and a hydraulic cylinder always goes from the connection that way. So this is the pushing end, so I can use that to push out the drive shaft, and this is the pulling end. Now I have a wee adapter, and then I have a 20-ton pulling rod. Now in the cylinder there's already a thread. So can you give me a 13/3/8? Yeah, just on this one. Yeah. Because, one final thing is I'm going to make a connection, and I have some play here. So what do? I have a small ring with which I center the puller. So, like this, and now I'm a lazy just screwing the spindle in and then closing the gap. So there's actually a video of this, but it's not online yet. Come on. Yes. Can everybody see this? So,
it's not actually pulling this.
So this is supporting on the exterior of the knuckle, or the trailing arm. And this plate, here is the centering for the 2 arms. So I have some room to spare. And then, and this is what it unfortunately requires when operating these tools. You need to know how to set it up. This is why we invented RTFM. read the fucking manual. There's no reading involved. We have a lot of safety warnings. You can read those once. And then you look, what do I need? You look at the pictures. So it says you need a pump, hydraulic cylinder, spindle, and a picture of how to set it up. Just follow those instructions. And then close the hydraulic system. Now on this pump there's a gauge. That gauge tells you how much force you're actually applying. And look at how stuck this prepared wheel bearing actually takes. So if it says 9 or 10, that's 10 tons of metric pressure. You heard from the bang already, and this is prepared. This has already been done a couple of times. This bearing is so incredibly stuck, if you do it on a live car, you need up to 12 tons of pressure to take it out. Can you catch it? Well, yeah, we need a second go. So the stroke of the cylinder is actually the only limitation you have. It's 45 millimeters, but this bearing is longer. So you take it out, you release pressure, disconnect the pump.
Sorry.
Yeah. And actually the cylinder isn't completely released. And now it is. Release it. You were too quick with releasing. So I have a little bit we have a little bit of play. Yeah. Now with a transporter, you can just leave the spindle as it is, stick it through. But we need to pull on the outside now. So close the gap, and now the whole assembly comes down. This is why we also have a support for the cylinder. And there it is. So what do you need in order to operate this? If you just want to do this job, you just need this kit. But if you want to do all of them, you need a lot of bits and pieces. And if you have a lot of bits and pieces, the moment you understand this system, you actually understand that it's kind of Lego for mechanics.
Yeah.
Come again? Yeah. So this is taking the whole hub assembly out. Now when you order a new one, there's a hole in there. But I cannot press on this because this is the interior bearing. So I need to transfer the power from this to this, the outside. So how do I do that? This is why you have a dismantling kit with that puller, and you have a mounting kit which is virtually universal with different diameters. So this one is for the transporter, and this is for 85 and 92. So what do? We put those plates in place. Do we have the original wheel bolts?
No.
So you do it with the bolts from...
Yep. From water.
To give you an idea, in order to push on this, we need to go to the outside with this. And this is also for Ford Volvo, because Ford Volvo has studs. Ford Volvo, Mazda actually. They have studs and 2 different diameters. So you see 10 holes, 5 for 78 and 5 for 82. So there's a different diameter for the holes. We were lucky enough to figure out that the diameter of this hub is actually spot on 78 millimeters. So we take 1 for taking out. You take 2 rings, and this is in the manual, so do apply RTFM, or actually LTFM. Look at the pictures. So you just need a little bit of pressure, just a little bit of pre-tension. But we pulled it out, supporting on here, and you can see there's no marks here, so I do not damage anything. But in order to pull it back in, I need to support from the backside. So this is why you get a lot of these discs, and these discs have a shape. They do 3 things. One is support on the backside. The other is pressing on the front side of a standard bearing. 4, ABS sensor. And the inside of this ring is actually for centering a hub, because I push the bearing in and then I need to push the hub in. And with this edge I can center the hub. So if I have a lot of these, I can do all of those things. So this goes on the back, and you saw on this cylinder that we have an adapter here. On the back side we also have the same kind of adapter in order to center the wheel bearing when putting it back in. So this is for ABS. This goes on the front, it stays in place, and then because one of the problems we are faced, and this is also something that some of the competitors face, if you don't have that centering in, then the bearing will go one way or the other way. Sometimes the knuckle is oval shaped because of the age or the wear and tear. And then to top it off, we have this. So, anybody wants to see? So this is for us being lazy, and then I just need to make sure that it's locked in place. Just tighten it.
If you're disassembling,
Come again?
if you're disassembling the bearing,
Yes.
and say, for instance, this breaks, you upshift creek.
If that breaks, which it
Or if
never
the
did
bearing,
in the
if the bearing does come apart, if this shell,
Yes.
if the outer race comes out of the
if you
bearing,
have a generation 1 bearing, that typically happens.
yeah.
So you take the hub out, and then the inner race stays on the hub, and then you have half of a wheel bearing. Because I then, with this system, from the back side of the bearing, I have a centering one in the inner part and the pressure one on the outer part. So I center from the back side, I center my whole assembly here to collect the bearing. But you probably want to know, do we have something spectacular to take that inner race off? And yes, sir, we do. So this is what I was telling you when I spoke about that